When we found out Cass was pregnant, it was awesome. It was so good. There was just a great energy around. We felt for the first time in our lives things were just coming together. We were where we were meant to be and heading in that path that we'd always sort of dreamed of.
At about 37 weeks with Dex, I had experienced a high volume of movement to the point where it was actually hurting me. We went in to have our assessment by the doctor. I expressed my concerns. She wasn't overly concerned about it. Nothing further was investigated at that point.
On that afternoon, we had to head back up to the hospital because we had our last prenatal class.
After the prenatal class, we went upstairs to the maternity ward to see the midwives and basically just get the bub checked. The midwives used the fetal heart Doppler to try and locate the heartbeat. They couldn't locate a heartbeat.
That's when the nightmare set in.
Finding out that I was pregnant was a really exciting time. It was our first child. At the 20-week scan, we found out that we were having a boy, which was really exciting. I was especially happy for you because you were kind of planning, future football games and, fishing trips and everything that you could do with your son.
I do remember the first time feeling Archie kick and putting my hand on Bree's stomach and feeling it happen. And it was amazing. It's incredible. It was fascinating as well.
At about the 35-week mark, I noticed a change in Archie's movements. They were far less frequent.
Through my naivety, I just assumed that it was normal or it didn't matter. I didn't even know what it meant for there to be reduced movement or how it affected anything. So I wasn't slightly concerned about it because I had no reason to be. I was never told that what it meant. We went to prenatal classes and there was never any mention of stillbirth or anything like that.
So we had an appointment with the obstetrician and I went in to see him and I explained that the movement had really changed. And he had a quick look at his heartbeat and everything was fine, like Archie was fine. The day after I saw the obstetrician, I woke up in the morning and as soon as I opened my eyes, I just knew something wasn't right. And I literally felt sick. When I moved, I didn't feel him move. That day I had my baby shower. And so I went to this lunch and I was sitting there and the whole time I was just worried because I still hadn't felt him move.
When I found out that we were having a boy, I was, like Shane, very much over the moon. We felt that our family was complete. We had a girl and we were now having a boy and life was perfect. I was fairly in tune with Landon's movements through the pregnancy. He was a very active little baby. At 30 weeks, I noticed a change in Landon's movement. They didn't necessarily decrease, they just changed in how they would normally feel. I had a fairly restless night. When I woke in the morning and felt that I had absolutely no movement with Landon, I was petrified. I was absolutely petrified. And once I arrived at the hospital, the midwives were wonderful. They took me straight through and decided to do a CTG and check for his heartbeat. When the midwife was looking for his heartbeat, it feels like an eternity. It's completely silent, and every second that goes on from there where they can't find anything and they're getting you to get into different positions is just more heartbreaking. Your heart is just completely and utterly breaking and in a flutter at this point in time.
I was in a meeting and then I was getting texts saying, they can't pick up his heartbeat. Time just stood still. I just couldn't. I was annoyed at the fact that I knew that Lauren was already up there and she was going through this just on her own. So I just want to get there, and I couldn't.
I felt numb. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know why. What happened? I didn't know what had gone wrong, or why I didn't get picked up, and then I just didn't know why it was us. Why? They told me they were going to start inducing labour.
Hearing that process of what Cass now has to go through was just blew my mind completely. I just thought, how's she going to do? How can she do this? Now she's got to go and give birth to a son that doesn't have a heartbeat. And then when he was born, it was even crazier. Like you're holding this little child and you're just waiting for him to take a breath. You're waiting for him to open his mouth and breathe. His hands to grab your finger, you know?
Leaving the hospital without your baby is the hardest thing you will ever do in your entire life.
Everything about that moment felt wrong. Everything about walking out of that hospital and having to, I had to cradle Cass in my arms to practically carry her out because she just couldn't walk. We're walking out of those doors into a car that has a baby seat in it, and we drove home.
It didn't really hit me that there was a problem until I looked at Bree and she was crying, and the midwife was clearly concerned, and then all of a sudden I realised that there was no heartbeat.
The obstetrician then came in with an ultrasound machine and confirmed that he had no heartbeat. And I think your world just stops turning. You know, in that moment, all these hopes and dreams that you had for your future just come crashing down. It just kind of twists the knife a little bit more when this little person is born and they're perfect. And you look at him like any new parent looks at their child, and you're proud of them.
Yeah, for sure. You don't, I was very proud. I knew that he was dead. But I was still really proud of him and us, that we'd had this little boy. And you know that they're not alive. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you've got this amazing little baby in front of you.
I just felt like my whole world had crumbled. It was very difficult to even register what he had just said, and took several minutes before it started to sink in. And then just the most crushing grief that I've never experienced hit.
I just took one look at Lauren and I just knew that there was no hope. That this was pretty much, it wasn't a dream. This is actually real. Like he's gone. Like there's nothing that we can do about it.
Hearing the news and the confirmation from the doctor that he had passed is one thing, but then to be told that you have to be induced and deliver your child is like a snap straight back into reality. Certainly the last stages of labour, I remember forgetting, or it's not forgetting, but it's almost this element of hope, I think, and almost becoming excited to meet my son. But then the minute he's born and the room's just silent, there is no cry. Landon looked the spitting image of Shane. Curly blonde hair, the navy blue eyes that most newborns are born with. He was perfectly covered, you know, little beautiful hands and feet.
Had my big toe.
He did. He had the gap in the toes that Shane has. And yeah, just perfectly flat little ears and a little button nose, and his little mouth was just pursed together. He was adorable.
So we spent time with him after he was born. We had him for the night. We sort of, I just would stare endlessly into his eyes and just feel his hands, and you know, I mean, once again, a little bit of hope, thinking it's all a bad dream. I'd always put my hand on his heart.
To try to explain to people that we spent 48 hours with him after he was born is quite difficult. I don't think people realise that this is quite essential to the time that you spend with your child. You know, this is your only time that you get with them. And for bereaved parents, we really only get memories, and it's about creating as many memories as we can with them. It's really been only through our own journey of grief that we've really opened our eyes and our ears to the statistics of stillbirth. The hardest part is actually knowing that it wasn't just Landon on the 5th of May, that there were 5 other babies in Australia. And I think people are just quite naive to the statistics because it's not spoken about. We never thought it could happen to us.
The rate of stillbirth hasn't changed in over 2 decades because there's just not enough research and funding that goes towards something that is such a big issue and can affect anyone, anyone. And with more research and funding and education as to what to look for, this can change. Not for a second do you think that this is going to happen to you.
No, we never thought it would happen to us, and it did. And it does happen.
6 times a day.